Now, should we ignore the climate and expand our airports? Excuse me. Rachel Reeves is making her big growth speech very soon. There she is, walking towards the camera. She's expected to reveal plans to create what she calls Europe's Silicon Valley between Oxford and Cambridge. She's also looking to invest in electric vehicle charging points. But one of the key announcements that has people talking is the expansion of airports like Heathrow. Some forecasters say a third runway would create 70,000 jobs and contribute billions to the economy, but it would take more than a decade to complete, and critics say it would lead to higher emissions and more noise pollution. Well, what about it, Tim? What do you think?
Well, look, I'm not a great supporter of this government, but I'm very glad that they've finally recognised what they have done up until now is they've really flattened the economy, particularly when they arrived, all that talk of doom and gloom. Then you have the big tax rise in the budget. I will always welcome a government that U-turns. You know, U-turn is, Mrs. Thatcher.
What?
Yeah, no, a government.
I don't believe it.
If you're going in the wrong direction,
I agree.
It's a much bigger thing for a politician to. They haven't quite acknowledged it, but what they are doing at the moment, this government is recognising they started off on the wrong track. Yeah. And partly
What's
because
an expensive mistake then?
It's a very expensive
because
mistake.
the winter, you annoyed the pensioners, that's fatal. The farmers, that's tricky. And then also all the employers who have to pay more tax.
Yeah. And people are noticing it. Things like Sainsbury's cafes are closing.
Yeah.
WH Smith's in trouble. Yeah. When you have sort of iconic brands that we all use and recognise, potentially disappearing from our high street, people begin to notice.
But when you surely, just to take your thing about the U-turn, if somebody says this policy is what we're doing, and then they put it in, and then it goes wrong, and they say we're not doing it anymore, my immediate thought is you can't do this job. Let's just admit that you cannot do this job.
But no, I think that's unfair.
Is it?
I think the average British person, if someone admits a mistake, and they haven't quite done that, let's face it, they are shifting emphasis without admitting they've made a mistake. But I think people are generous enough to say, yeah, if you keep making mistakes, that's different. But people will forgive the one error. And it's much better to start going in the right direction than persist in the wrong direction when everyone knows it's the wrong direction.
So then they get to Heathrow Airport and they say, look, there's a famous thing, we might see it actually, where Rachel Reeves was asked, bats or great crested newts? It's like a silly choice question. And she said, neither, I want growth. We'll get it out and show you. Is this the right track now?
First of all, I wish that they would own their mistakes and potentially even go back and make changes. I believe this is gloss, in fact, because they've not adapted the budget, they've not re-examined winter fuel allowance, they're not budging on the tractors, they are forging ahead with aeroplanes. They're going to hell with combine harvesters, we're all about aviation. And I think it is actually, this is about mood music. It's not really about change on the ground, because if you go into the thicket of bureaucracy here, it ain't going to happen till they're well out of power.
No, but the thing that helps is that the private money will be released. A lot of it will be done with private money by the Heathrow, by British Airways and so on.
Getting it green, Jeremy, is going to take
they're just going to have to. They're just going to have to be a bit more Chinese, aren't they? They're going to have to basically say,
but we're not Chinese. That's the problem.
Look, this thing was announced. The third runway was announced bore I was born. And
so I rest my case. So you think Rachel Reeves is going to get this across the line?
Okay, then maybe we can't do anything.
It's like the social care announcement, isn't it? Heathrow, third runway, and we're fixing social care. Government are always about to do it. They never do it.
Well, just have a look at this. So we've got this thing. It was a quiz at the weekend. I think it was in the Times or Sunday Times. She's done they hate quick-fire questions, politicians, but they jumped her. Bats or great crested newts? Neither, because I want growth. Now, I know that sounds silly, but actually, there are people who think that there were reasons why we're trying to save bats. There was a reason for it. What do you think of that? Does that worry you?
Yeah, the whole thing, I feel terrible here. She's the first female chancellor. I want to get on board with the Keir Starmer government. I want to believe in growth and Britain and being the best and being green. But she's tin-eared. I think Rachel Reeves, at the moment, she doesn't really have my backing. I don't think she's got a political antenna, and that really worries me. What these answers, traitor or faithful, are they programmes? What planet is she on?
Yeah, that is a bad one. But also, I think she says Donald Trump or Ursula von der Leyen, Are there going to be any questions that are fun? I don't think we should choose
Oh,
between
come on. I mean, surely they're pro-Europe.
These are a nightmare for politicians, these quizzes.
Yeah, but
it's a
good
horror
politician
show.
can find a clever way of answering
I think
them.
every single...
She's answered one of those in really dull ways.
She could have just
Also,
said...
Kemi Badenoch or Nigel Farage, neither Keir Starmer.
If she was clever, then moving on to Donald Trump and Ursula von der Leyen, she'd go, oh, well, I had a man the last time with Keir Starmer, I'll go for Ursula, got to support the women. I mean, you can be clever about the way you answer these, you can't you?
Part of the problem with this government is it's a bit like, the president and the vice president in America. They normally try and balance each other out so that you've got, different personalities which appeal to different people. The trouble with Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer is they're basically the same kind of sort of technocrat politician.
But then that's maybe because we were tired of the Boris Johnson show. I don't know. Richard is in Essex. Richard, let's go back to the airport. Do you think she should say, yeah, look, we're going for growth, we're building the runway, that's it?
No way should we build another runway. She has lied to us all the time. She can't do anything but lie. The Labour government can't do anything but lie.
Sorry, the lie was not talking about it in the election campaign. Is that right?
Yeah, but before that, 3 years before that, she said no to the runway and all this and the other, and so did all the other Labour hikes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how much my winter fuel allowance it's going to be to put in money into this, which they're going to do. And they're also going to help Man United to build their stadium to make it 100,000.
Well, Tim loves that.
How much more money are they going to take from us pensioners?
Well, Richard, you make a very good point. Thank you.
All that she's doing is, with the Labour and Keir Starmer, is she's killing off as many pensioners as she can, so that she won't have to pay any pension money out to anybody.
It's tough. You see the anger here.
Yeah,
Thanks, Richard.
There is anger. She lost a lot of political capital for saving actually not that money down the back of the sofa. What's interesting, Richard, and I suppose based in ethics, this wouldn't bother you. What bothers me about her plans, Heathrow, Luton, Gatwick, then you get the Silicon Valley between Oxford and Cambridge. It's all the south. Levelling up's out the window.
100%.
I mean, genuinely, surely if you're going to have Silicon Valley, you say it's between Doncaster and Darlington. No.
Well, I'm afraid Jess is right. This should be about levelling up, and all the parties seem to have forgotten about levelling up.
Okay,
but the fact is that Oxford and Cambridge, it's got to be built around Oxford and Cambridge. If we're going to have a Silicon Valley, it's got to be there.
These people are intelligent. They can get on a train.
Yeah, but the point is she's working the international brand. Oxford and Cambridge is a bit like the BBC. It works overseas, and we need...
It's not just it works
Brian in
overseas,
Newport. Hello, Brian.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad.
What do you think? Should she build this runway? Because she's just saying, look, it's all about growth. They're laser focused on growth now.
No, because the airport belongs to a foreign country, and the only person that's going to benefit from that is the foreigners. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to be built for 10 years. We got an oil refinery in Scotland. They're closing down, even though that could make biofuel for the planes, but they're closing it down and they're going to import fuel. So it just seems they're giving it to everybody outside the UK and nothing for us.
This question will infuriate Tessa, but given that in America Trump has binned, as far as I can tell, the whole climate thing, should we just can it and try and save money here and drill? As Trump says, drill, baby, drill.
Yeah, baby. What don't you think that, like, if Sam had come in and said, right, first 5 years, this is what we're going to do. From 30 onwards, we're going to look at green energy and stuff. Instead of scrimping and saving, spending 22 billion on this and 8 billion on this, why doesn't he use that money to put on so we can still use our gas, so we're not reliant on
Why don't we just do what Trump is doing here? Let's be honest about it.
Jeremy, look at the position we occupy. Look at our wind and waves. We're an archipelago. We are more than that.
We've got so much poverty in this country.
We can drive the green revolution, get ahead of America, because Bidenomics is out of the window. You may roll your eyes, but guess what? Just because Trump has farted does not mean that actually the sewage system has changed. We need to re-gear the way in which we get our energy, burn our energy, and actually deliver.
Okay.
In the future,
All right.
climate change hasn't gone away because Trump's going drilly.
Old people need to heat their homes. Thank you, Brian. After the break, we're taking more of your calls on whether we should ignore the climate and just expand our airports and get cracking here. 0207 862 222. Is it a bit Trumpian what Labour are doing, actually? See you very shortly. More of your calls on whether we should ignore climate goals and expand our airports. It sort of is one or the other. Steve in Cornwall, hi. What do you think? Are they right to do this?
No, not at all. I lived at the end of the runway at Heathrow Airport back in the 60s and 70s.
Did you?
And yes. And
whereabouts? Which end? The London end or in Berkshire or something? Where were you?
Hatton Cross, near the tube station.
Blimey. So you could see them coming over, could you?
Well, in the 50s and 60s, my parents were actually on the old chat shows in the 60s, and they used to fly over the top of the house. And I've got a picture of Concorde where I've stood at the back door.
Yeah.
And Concorde's flown over, and the flash is reflected off the bottom of the belly of Concorde.
So when you say they were on the chat shows, you mean people always used to talk about your mum and dad living in this crazy house?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we had people from Germany come over, and I don't know if you remember the Burden-Braden beat back in the 60s.
Burden-Braden? No, I don't.
Yeah, it's like a Saturday night chat show.
The Burden-Braden.
They used to have it. I think it was either ITV or BBC. I wasn't sure at the time.
Well, listen, but the thing is, in life, this is a rule of life. There's not much that can't be solved with the use of earplugs, in my view.
Not true.
And could you, seriously, Steve, you can sleep once you've got the earplugs in, can't you?
No. Well, when Concorde first flew over, it actually smashed all the landing lights as it came over.
Wow.
Smashed all the landing. Oh,
the vibration.
Oh, the vibration. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
And we lived there from about 1953 until I left home about 75.
Wow.
But, Steve...
That's amazing, Steve.
But the technology, aviation technology, I mean, we don't have Concorde anymore. It's apparently massivly changed and they are less impactful. I don't think it's good enough. But don't you think nowadays it would be a very different reality in the same house?
No, not really, because my mother used to put the washing out on the line, and when she brought it in, it was black because of the fuel.
Yeah. Okay, Steve. Thank you. It might well be that's the case. I think they're going electric or something, or they're going to.
They can't go electric because of the weight of the batteries. It's too heavy for the aeroplanes.
And also, as we know, electrical fault. You know, this famous thing with Scott Mills.
You're fundamentally right, though. They are a lot cleaner and quieter than they were. But we travel so much more. So every sort of benefit we gain from the individual plane being more environmentally friendly, we use them twice as often, so we offset the benefit.
Scott Mills went on holiday. He parked at the airport in his electric car, couldn't get out of it, missed the plane, missed the holiday.
Because he got trapped.
He couldn't break his way out. Imagine that kind of failure when you're in the air.
Yeah, who would want to be the guinea pig?
So there is that. Janet in Kent. Hello, Janet.
She was in Kent.
Oh, she's flown.
No, I'm here.
Well done.
Hey.
Listen, what do you think about building this runway, Janet?
Well, my opinion is London and the surrounding area are jam-packed enough, surely to goodness.
Yeah.
Now, I live in Margate in Kent. We've had a smashing airport 10 minutes from me, Manston Airport.
Yeah,
it was classed as a London airport, and it was Kent International. They closed it down. We're desperately trying to get it back open again. I've flown from there 2 or 3 times to foreign countries, and we have no natural industry. So it would give us an awful lot of industry. The road has been upgraded. We now have it now has a new station 5 minutes from Manston. What is the problem? It's got the longest runway in the country because it used to be an RAF airport, and it can handle any aircraft that's ever been built.
Maybe so. Maybe that's what we do. You need all the roads running up to it. That's the thing.
The problem is,
we have.
Janet,
They built all the new roads.
But Margate isn't Costa Blanca, is it? People aren't choosing or wanting to fly to Margate. They want to fly to London.
They weren't. They were doing city flights.
Exactly.
I've flown to Madrid. It wasn't just holiday aircraft.
But you're right. Everything ends up in London. I mean, as Tim was saying.
It's jam-packed. London and the surrounding area.
Yeah.
You're only going to have a hiccup on the M25. Everybody misses their flight.
You're so right.
No. Now, I make a prediction. First of all, the Liberal Democrats, is what the Liberal Democrats always do. They will oppose this
They'll stop it,
extension.
yep, of
Now,
course.
if the Liberal Democrats oppose it, the Greens will oppose it. Then the Tories won't be able to, because they won't have any chance of winning seats in the South East. So I absolutely predict the Heathrow third runway will not happen.
Really?
Absolutely won't happen.
Did you predict
But
HS2 would not happen?
I did predict it
Yeah,
would not
I said,
happen
yeah,
as
'cause
well,
I thought you had done.
Yeah.
And I, for a moment, thought HS2 was going to happen. I don't know what I was thinking. The idea that they'd be doing it for 10 years, they bought all the houses, they knocked the houses down, they built the line. I thought it was going to happen. I was completely
And you know
bewitched
now it's
by it.
impossibly expensive because they've sold back the land that's in the northern section, which is now much more expensive to buy back. So if HS2 was expensive in its first sort of iteration, it's now absolutely impossible because of the land prices.
The problem is, the message is, big infrastructure doesn't happen in Britain unless it's, you're right, London. The Elizabeth line, for example, is one good example of infrastructure, but once again, it's in the capital.
But more importantly, people do not want to travel to London to fly out to their holiday. They want to go to their local airport. So the lady just speaking, Janet, she's absolutely right. Janet wants a local airport which she can get to quickly.
Yeah.
That's what will happen. We'll have more regional airports. So perhaps after all, Tess, levelling up might happen.
OK, we've got Dennis in Portsmouth. Hi, Dennis. If you were Rachel Reeves, would you say today we give the go-ahead for the third runway?
Well, no, I wouldn't, no. I've been in airports and it's been my hobby all my life at airports. And I just can't imagine what this growth could possibly be that's going to need the building of the third runway at Heathrow. It's 14 miles around the perimeter as it is, you know.
Yeah, but hang on. A lot of people, when they fly into Heathrow, have to be in a holding pattern. I mean, this is the green argument that we're having to spend so much time in the air. If you allow people to land quicker, their flights will be more carbon free.
Sorry.
Well, are they going to jumbo jet full loads of and flying in the net all the time?
Good point.
Rachel Reeves is not being very honest.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for your calls. Thank you so much. We've got to go to our break. Later we'll be asking if rubbish bin...